Rock and roll. Are we on, John? Cool.
Yeah, you are.
This is the Genesee County Compassion Club show. How's everybody doing this wonderful Wednesday? This is July 25th. Back in the studios. Got John here at allpointstv.com making it happen. Thank you, John.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being. we love the content. It's like and it's like relevant. I had people contacting me. It's really cool because it kind of strokes my ego when they contact me about medical marijuana issues.
Good deal.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, we're glad to be here. I tell you what, we love All Points TV, and I love the opportunity to share our points of view. It's just points of view. That's what it is. But here we're able to get it on. I want to let you know what's happening down at the club and get you guys up to date with what's up with medical marijuana, especially right here in Michigan. Of course, we'll be talking about the meme back behind here today. Get into that in a bit. But before I do, I want to get into the announcements and let you guys know what's up. We had our Adopt a Highway scheduled last Saturday, and because of the wonderful rain that we received, we canceled the Adopt a Highway for that day. But it is back on this Saturday. It's projection of good weather and good cleaning. So this Saturday, what is that, July 28th?
Yeah, 28th, correct.
Thank you, John. July 28th, M13, be there or be square. It's between Beecher and Potter Road out on M13, just north of, what is that, Lennon, I do believe.
There's Lennon and there's Lennon, so which one?
I'm thinking it's Lennon. But yeah, we've been going there for 10 years. I should know it by now. But M13, you guys know where it's at. And if you haven't been there before, if you just drive north of Lennon a few miles across Beecher Road, we're going to be right there. You'll see us cleaning it up. We got the vest, the safety video, all that jazz. So if you can show up to the club early, we'll make sure you're set up for safety. And at any rate, what we're going to do this time, when you guys get done, you can come on back to the club and we're going to feed you like we always do. But this time you get to choose from the club's menu. So that's like an extra bonus. But we need your help. If you come on out this Saturday, it only takes a couple hours, a nice little walk on the side of the road. And it's a good opportunity for us to continue making a positive impact on the community. You know, a lot of people like to try and forget about us caregivers out there making a difference, and you guys do make a difference. So show up and show them that you make a difference this Saturday if you can. All right. We just had our soup kitchen. I want to say thank you to our volunteers for showing up for that. Definitely appreciated. And the soup kitchen's always rocking. It is on Tuesdays now, if you guys weren't aware. Tuesday, and we're serving the lunch menu, so that way you can do it during the middle of the day and it won't affect you. All right, so there you go. All right, next event we got coming up here. This is a brand new event, and I'm excited to be able to announce it to you first here on the podcast. You haven't seen it on Facebook yet because there's no post for it. There's no posters yet made. This is brand new. We just got it together today, and it's something that I love, that's near and dear to my heart, and that is barbecue. I love barbecue. And we've got some good friends of mine coming up. Got Smoke Barbecue. These guys are award-winning competition barbecue people. They travel around the state, and they've won quite a few different contests. And they're going to be coming to the club August 17th from 2 to 7 p.m. You guys can fill up and take some home if you want. They're going to be offering quite a few different selections from their award-winning menu. Pick out what you want. It's going to be delicious. So that's August 17th. It's a Friday. Mark your calendars, all right?
That's where I feel kind of bad for the vegans and stuff, the vegetarians, because there's nothing as good as barbecue.
Honestly, they're doing more things now, like barbecued vegetables. And, for the vegan crowd, hey, man, it's good.
Can you see these sharp, pointy teeth? We see these sharp, pointy teeth.
I see, yeah.
We're made to eat flesh.
I know. But, there's some people that argue with you and tell you that they do a number on cucumbers, too.
That's true, but I don't know. I just can't. I see the argument, but I can't make that jump.
I am a meat lover, but I'm more so than that, I'm a barbecue lover. I love barbecue, so I'm looking forward to that. All right, at the end of August, also, just a little reminder. I know we've talked about it before on the podcast, but I want to remind you guys, you need to get your teams together and get your sign-ups in order for our G3C annual golf outing. It's, of course, gone to support the Roar Children's Foundation at the McLaren Hospital, and we're proud to be a sponsor of this event, along with Fenton Hydroponics, also another sponsor, and we really appreciate them chipping in as they have every year. And this is going to be a great event. It's out at Copper Ridge. It's a beautiful golf course, fantastic menu. The steak there is unbelievable, and you get a steak dinner as a part of the outing. Of course, we have awards and prizes and swag. Got some awesome swag. I just got a poker chip actually last week, and you're going to want one of those. So end of August, make sure you sign up for that. It's going to be a blast. And I think that's about it for announcements. Man, summertime is flying by. You know what I mean? As the end of July, as I already stated, July 25th today. And before you know it, kids are going to be going back to school. We're going to be, watching football. It's awesome. And autumn will be here. Harvest season's coming along.
The harvest season for marijuana, though, is already goes on year round, doesn't it?
Well, for indoor gardeners, of course, but there's a lot of outdoor gardeners. And, since we changed the law and had a clear definition and made it, a little bit more viable, understandable of what it was that it took to grow outside and people feel comfortable doing so, there's been a lot more additional outdoor gardeners added to the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program in the last couple of years. So, yeah, there will be a lot of folks out there getting ready to pull in their harvest. Maybe some of them are starting now to prepare for forced flowering and stuff like that. So another thing that's becoming more common out there with some of the setups. So at any rate, summer's going by, guys. Make sure you do whatever it is you do in the summer. Don't let it go by without doing that, whatever that is. All right? Okay, I got some news I want to share with you guys, let you guys know what's happening here in Michigan. We have had some various events occur in the last couple weeks. And before I get into that, I made a little video this morning. We've had a number of people ask, new people that are coming into this and new gardeners specifically, and still wondering, how do you sex a plant, or how do you determine a male from a female plant? So I had the opportunity to show you guys what that is. Had some beans I popped recently, and in the video you'll hear me describe how long those have been going for. But this is just a quick little vid I wanted to share with you guys. Feel free to share it with your friends or around on the internet, whatever you want to do. But I think this is a pretty good video showing you specifically what it is you're looking for when you're trying to find out if you've got a male or a female plant. So John, you let it roll. It takes a minute, so bear with us, okay? Just 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, just trying to do it again. I had it. Oh, okay, hold on.
It's all right, John. No problem.
Let's see. Window capture. Okay. Yeah. Ah, damn. This thing is not being cooperative. Hold on for a second. Hold on.
No problem.
Okay, hold on here. Let me refresh this thing.
They'll wait, John. They'll wait.
Okay.
It's cool. Okay, so I'm going to show you.
Okay. It takes a while. Okay.
One of the things you need to know when you're determining the sex of your plant, you need to have patience. So this is what we're doing right here. It's a little exercise in patience.
Yeah, it's like 'cause, I tried it out 3 times to make sure it worked, and window.
You wore it out.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how to identify a male plant from a female plant. So you can see from a distance they look pretty close to the same. These plants have both been in flower for 6 days, 6 days of a flowering light cycle, and now they're starting to show us their gender. So when you're looking for a male plant, the first thing you're looking for, or at least the area you want to focus on, is going to be towards the top of the plant, and right in the crook or nook of the branches is where you'll see right here we've got what look like multiple little bulbs forming, and those are the bulbs of the male. See on the back side, it's a little bit easier to identify, often referred to as the balls. And as you can see, there's definitely multiple little heads there going on. Okay, that is a male plant. Over here, this is our female, and in the same, basically the same area here that we're looking at, you'll see in the nook a singular head. See how this little bulb right there? Just one. And coming out of it are 2 little white hairs. Those 2 little white hairs are what's telling us that this is a lady plant. So that's an easy way to identify them. Again, up towards the top portion of the plant, you want to grab the plant right by underneath here, and in this location right there, again, you'll see multiple heads forming. These have not yet emitted any type of pollen, so we don't have to worry about any fertilization going on. But in a few days, they certainly would. They would swell, and then they would start to have a yellow dust dropping from them, which would in turn pollinate the plant. Again, over here, there's our female, and looking carefully, You can see the white hairs. Now, in regards to the recent court decision, and of course because this is a male plant, we're going to go ahead and get rid of her. I'm not much of a breeder. I know some people would say, oh no, but this is what we're going to do. Simply just take the plant down. So you got the cutters right here. Trying to do it one-handed. Bye-bye. And off it goes. Like I said, in regards to the recent court decision, this now is no longer a plant. It doesn't have any roots. Alright? Pretty simple. But it's also no longer protected by Section 4. So, the question remains is, does this put someone outside of the protection of the law? No, it doesn't. It still is protected by Section 8, and then we get into the nuances of the law. The key is making sure you remain compliant. So, make sure you stay within your plant count, make sure your plants are locked, and make sure you don't grow male plants unless you want to pollinate something. But anyway, I just want to share that with you guys. A little educational video. Say bye-bye to this boy. Bye! And we'll catch you next time. Alright, so there it is. How to identify a male and a female plant. Before I get into the court stuff, I'll point out that those plants there you're looking at, approximately about 10 weeks of vegetative time put into that before we had to go ahead and eliminate it. So, you know, a lot of people wonder, how long does it take? It depends, and every strain's different. Strains grow at different speeds and reveal themselves at different rates. But in this particular scenario, which is pretty typical, about 10 weeks. So yeah, it takes 10 weeks to grow out something from seed to figure out that, oh, it's not what you wanted, and you have to throw it away. And actually, it takes a lot longer than that. The female plants that you see there, we don't know anything about them yet. We have to grow them out. We have to find out how they're going to test. We have to find out if they're going to match up to our patient's needs, and then we can determine whether or not it's something that we want to keep in the garden. So that process can take another 6 to 9 months on top of that, and even longer if we're trying to stabilize and select phenotype. So a lot of work goes into it, and you have to realize that just to get to that point there was a breeding process that also occurred in front of what you just saw, or in front of what I'm referring to right now. So yeah, it's a big investment. You know, when somebody says, hey, can you get me a new strain? Or if maybe if you're a patient out there and you're thinking, why doesn't my caregiver, you know, go get this new one that I just heard about? Maybe they are, but maybe they aren't. Just realize that what you're asking is a major time investment, and it's going to take a while to see a return of that investment. So, especially if you're the patient waiting for the meds to come. So, at any rate, there you go. As far as the court stuff goes, yes, we had a court case happen last week. It was Court of Appeals. It was People versus Vanessa Mansour, or Mansour. I'm not sure how you say her person's name. The incident was in Troy, Michigan, and the person was caught where plants were in various stages of drying, according to the paper. And basically, the defense argued that the marijuana that was drying was not usable, and therefore qualified her for immunity under the state law and should not be considered as the authorities drew up her charges. The Court of Appeals decision set precedent and basically agreed with the trial court and upheld their decision, stating that the legislature makes it legal to possess plants, to possess a limited amount of finished product, but they did not define, and they stated basically that the unfinished product, it does not qualify for certain sections of the law, that it falls outside of this Section 4 protection. It doesn't mean that this individual is not protected, it's just that they're not protected by Section 4. Section 4 specifically states that you have the ability to have 12 plants and that you have the ability to possess 2.5 usable ounces. And it doesn't state anything else. So because of that, the judges somehow felt that this unusable category, i.e. cannabis between the point of when it has been harvested and when it is being consumed, where it is drying or being processed, cannabis that is in that stage is not protected by the Section 4 part of our Michigan medical marijuana law that was done in 2008. We're not talking about MMFLA or anything like that. We're talking about the original patient caregiver law. So this decision came out last week. Again, it's from the Court of Appeals, comes from this Mansour case. You can Google it and find out some more details. But in a nutshell, that's essentially what the Court of Appeals ruled. And I think it's creating a lot of confusion, I can tell you that. And in fact, I would say the media itself is guilty of this. And I hate to talk about fake news, especially in the certain climate that we're in right now. But man, if you go to the MLive post that I'm looking at right now, it states at the top of the article, wet marijuana is illegal in Michigan, appeals court rules. And that is not what the appeals court ruled. They didn't say that. They said it was not under the Section 4 protection. And I know that I'm getting into details, but details count, okay? And for the paper to put out a headline like that is completely misleading, and it is alarming a lot of folks unnecessarily. So let me clarify for you what the court is saying to the best of my ability, and I'm a layman's person. I'm not an attorney. I'm just reading to you what they basically have said and then giving you my interpretation. So take it for what it's worth. But at any rate, when you consider the fact that the court stated that this does not qualify for Section 4, I already previously stated why, and that's because Section 4 only states 12 plants and 2.5 usable ounces. So anything that is not that, the court is saying that it doesn't include that. Therefore, it may be protected by other parts of the law, and that is what the court did say. And the other part is the Section 8, which goes on to state your protections, including things like unusable marijuana, for example, and it includes a lot of other things as well. So why is the court doing this? And it is because they are trying, in my opinion, they are trying to eliminate people's ability to present the medical marijuana law as a defense to the prosecution or to the jury. All right. Why would they do that? Because if you are in court for a marijuana crime and you have a Michigan medical marijuana card, either patient or caregiver, if the prosecution is able to eliminate your ability to present the medical marijuana law as a defense, in other words, now you can't talk about the fact that you have one of these cards or that you went to the doctor or that you were servicing a patient. You can't talk about the fact that it was for medicinal purposes, and you'd be sitting there in court defending yourself as a regular criminal, regular drug dealer, for lack of a better term. So whether it be manufacturing or maintaining a drug house or whatever it is they're charging you with, the crime will be that you're just a drug dealer. All right, and that's the way the jury's going to hear about it, and they're not going to be able to even know that you had anything to do with the medical marijuana program, which is completely preposterous, but that is what the court does to people who don't qualify for Section 4 and Section 8 defenses. So when they eliminate your ability to qualify for these defenses, it eliminates your ability to even present the medical marijuana law as a defense at all, period. That right there is incredibly sadistic. I mean, for a jury not to at least know that the reason you're sitting in court is because you were over your limit in the medical marijuana program, and to be basically told that you're just a regular drug dealer and there's no other reason why you would even have marijuana in your possession. That's misconstruing the evidence, and that is positioning the jury from an untruthful beginning.
And juries are not allowed, or
it's essentially tampering with the jury from the bench.
Well, see, juries are not allowed to ask questions. So people know about the medical marijuana law because it's been in the papers, it's been on TV, and then they bring this up. Well, was this person licensed or allowed to do this? Right. They're not even allowed to ask that, I don't think.
Juries can actually ask questions. Yes, okay. They can. Okay. And they would present it through the judge, and then the judge would present the question to the court. So the judge would still have the ability to censor the question if it did not coincide with what the court decided would be presented in that case. So there is a possibility that, okay, if a juror said, well, does this person have a medical marijuana card? I want this to be asked. The judge could say, no, I'm not asking that question. Okay?
See, I always thought that was wrong. I thought if they want, jury or peers, let's face it, the average person's aware that there's an existing program like that.
Absolutely.
They should be able to ask that kind of question, or at least I don't see how they consider it fair when they're saying, well, yeah, now they ask about it. Yeah, he was or she was. operating within the confines of the established program.
Sure.
I mean, no, they don't. They want a conviction, or they want a.
Well, certainly.
They want a conviction.
It'd be like, okay, this person's in court for breaking the speed limit, and because they broke the speed limit, now they don't even get the credit of having a driver's license or vehicle registration, and so on and so forth. It's really kind of, I don't know, sadistic. I don't really have a better word for that, but
it's appropriate. That's an appropriate term. I would say it's a sadistic.
Yeah, thank you, John. I feel like the premise, before we even get into the details of the Mansour decision and what it plays out to be, where it is trying to lead these cases for the future, what the Court of Appeals judges were essentially conducting and trying to steer to in the future is this process. And by eliminating these protections in the law and creating different nuances for how those protections can be eliminated, they're attempting to deny someone the very defense and the very premise of the law it is that they were attempting to follow in the first place. And again, not even allowing the jury to know about this information, whether or not they were maintaining the rules or not. It really seems like we're really doing ourselves a disservice. So getting back to the case, the Mansour case, let's talk about this a little bit. So now you have this material, this medical marijuana material. It is not a plant. It is not yet consumable. It's not usable. It is still wet, for very simple explanation. It's just wet plant material. And now, supposedly, this is not protected by Section 4. This could still be protected by Section 8. All right? And the judges themselves say so in the court case. So it is not illegal. It is not a change in the law. It is simply a different interpretation in how they're going to administer the law from the bench in the future. Is that detrimental? Is that bad? Absolutely. It's terrible. How this decision could be decided is beyond me. Other than being completely deviant. But at any rate, it's still protected. And so what will happen in this particular case, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that you need to make sure you can utilize the medical marijuana law to your advantage and to its fullest extent. And how you do that is by making sure you follow the rules. And I know that that's a very simple statement, but there are certain rules that you need to make sure you're following. So let me give you an example. Plant count. Make sure you're not over your plant count. If you're over your plant count, you're going to have a very difficult time getting the protections provided to you in the law. They're going to try to eliminate those from you. Okay. Next thing is your doctor relationship. Make absolutely sure you have a bona fide relationship with your doctor that is recommending you your cannabis. All right. Go to your follow-up visits. Make sure you have your medical records in order and keep that information in a handy place in case you should ever need it. Okay? That's simple. It's really easy to do, and you probably need it every year when you go in for your doctor visit anyways. But do your follow-up visits, all right? I'm not selling you a doctor's visit. I'm not connected to any physician out there that does recommendations. So I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm just trying to tell you how to protect yourself. And I can tell you that if you don't do your doctor visits, the courts are going to rip you apart and tell you that you didn't have a real relationship with your doctor, and therefore your medical marijuana card is null and void, and you're not really a patient, or you're not really a caregiver helping a real patient because your patient isn't really a patient. So think about that and make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Other simple things like making sure your grow facility is actually locked. Believe it or not, they'll try to rip you apart if just simply you forgot to lock the door, okay? If you are doing something foolish like growing in a bedroom that's accessible to the rest of your family, stop it. Go buy a lock, put it on your door, and protect yourself and your family and your assets and your life, okay? Your limits, all right? Your usable marijuana, have it set in a certain place, have it set aside, have it locked up, have it labeled, and make sure you got the right amount. Real simple. If it's unusable, make sure it's labeled unusable, and make sure it's separate from the usable product so there's not going to be a confusion of what's what. It's clear to you, and you can make it clear to law enforcement if you needed to. Will any of these things actually protect you from arrest? No. Sometimes if police want to put you in jail, they do, and it doesn't matter what you've done, all right? But what it hopefully would do is protect you from conviction. so that when you do get to have your chance in court, when you do get to exercise your ability as a citizen to take advantage of laws, you will be able to, all right? And they won't be able to deny you those freedoms or those rights that you have. So maintaining your limits, maintaining your numbers, making sure you get your doctor's follow-up appointments, these are key essential things to making sure that you get the full protection of Section 4 and of Section 8. So that way when you go to the jury and they say, were you using this for medicinal purposes, they can't deny you that. And the jury will say, what the hell are we here for? Which is probably what they're probably thinking anyways. But you can ensure that that happens, okay? So this is an ugly ruling. There's an article in the paper, like I stated on MLive. Please do not take that headline as face value. Please do not share that article. That is garbage, all right? And that kind of crap creates hysteria and causes people to just lose their mind and have a bad day. And there's no need for it, all right? It's a very poorly written piece of crap there, headline. But the article does mention a few things, and it has some great quotes in there from Neil Rockind, who is an amazing attorney, who also states that he is planning on challenging this and taking it to the Supreme Court. So this incredibly ignorant decision that was issued this last week, it does stand. It may have an effect on lower courts' decisions until it's overturned, but it is likely to be challenged, all right? One of the things that's a key element in this challenge is the fact that this decision that was made by these judges was based on a previous decision in the name of Carruthers, which was actually overturned by our Michigan legislature just about, 2 years ago. All right, so yes, judges are actually going back and referring to court cases that have been changed since then to make their decisions based on stuff today, when there was plenty of other stuff to look at, let me tell you. One of the lessons that we need to learn from this as a citizen is that we need to pay attention to who our judges are, all right? For them to come up with this kind of a decision, if you know anything about our medical marijuana law, if you know anything about what's been happening in the last 10 years here in Michigan, you would understand the preposterity of this decision. It is just mind-blowing that they could even come up with this type of thing when the law itself was created purposefully to protect patients, to create a thing that we would no longer treat people who are using this for medicinal purposes as criminals. That's why we did this. And the judges are carving out sections in this law and saying this doesn't provide that protection. You have to jump through this hoop to get that, an additional hoop. So these judges are way out of line, in my opinion, and we need to hold them accountable at election time. These are the Court of Appeals judges, and you got to do your homework. When it comes time for you to go to the ballot, and your ballot's coming up here August 7th, and I know we've talked about it plenty on the podcast here, one of the things you're going to be voting on is your circuit judges here in Genesee County. And I can tell you one judge I definitely support is Chris Christensen, but you're going to be selecting two. So you're going to have to do your homework, do a little Googling, figure out who's running in your area, and make the best selection you can possible. But we need to hold these judges accountable. And so I would at least make sure that if you see things, whether it be judges or other politicians, and sometimes you might not know who to vote for, but you might know who not to vote for, if you know what I'm saying. And that can be just as powerful. So that's basically all I want to say about the court issue. One other point I will make is that it's interesting to me the amount of resources that our state continues to spend prosecuting patients on individual levels, such as like this case right here we've been talking about, the Mansour case, while we license a commercial medical system completely separate from this, and we don't even raise the questions that are being prosecuted over here for these people over here. How odd is that? How odd is that? There has not been one reference in any of the material handed down from LARA in regards to the MMFLA growing or producing facilities that talks about what their limit is. The distribution centers that they're licensing, nothing I've seen talks about the limits that they would have on their inventory, their possession, the amount that they can sell per day, or sell to a patient per day. None of that have I seen limits imposed yet. But we are certainly trying to do everything we can as a state, as judges, as prosecutors, to go after the patients that these programs are for. And it really seems to be the left hand not doing, what the right hand is doing, or not coinciding. So there you go. Okay, well, something else I wanted to share with you. Grand Rapids, you guys probably saw this on the news. Grand Rapids approved a medical marijuana ordinance. They're in Kent County, which is a very antagonistic county towards patients, but Grand Rapids, the city of Grand Rapids, finally got their act together and approved a medical marijuana ordinance. I've been told it's very restrictive. I don't know any more details about it other than that. I do know at this point, with them approving it so late in the game, that whoever does apply will certainly be well after the September 15th deadline before they receive an approval from the state. So you can probably expect that if you are in the Grand Rapids area, you may see this business operate sometime in the next year or two. Maybe. Depends on the licensing process. All right. Something else I wanted to talk about on the podcast today, and this is something I'm going to ask for your guys' help with. And I know it's something that's frustrated me personally as a caregiver and a patient. It affects many of my patients as well. And what I'm talking about is the application process with LARA. I'm sure many people have experienced this as well, but I've had numerous letters sent back rejecting patients' applications from LARA for incredibly minor mistakes, if you will, on their application. Things like I'm talking about when somebody says, I was born in 1944, and they put down 44 instead of 1944 for a date of birth. Realizing that, for those of you that don't know about a medical marijuana application, when you send these in, you have to send in a copy of your driver's license. And we're getting our letters rejected by the state for simple things like this. Another good example would be putting the date on the bottom of the application. If you don't write out 2018 and you just put 18, I've seen rejections for this. Sending it back, requiring more fees, a resubmission, delay in the process. This is what it does when they reject our applications. And I am seeing more and more of these rejections come from LARA. And I don't know if it's them directly doing it or the third party that they've hired to help with the applications. But these are incredibly minor things that obviously have nothing to do with really validating the application. The application could certainly continue to be processed with the types of mistakes that I'm talking about. I had an application recently just come back rejected because the doctor's signature was illegible or too messy was the letter. Unbelievable. I mean, are you kidding me? They have to call and verify with the doctor anyways to see if it's legit. So what is the point? And have you ever seen a doctor's signature not be messy? I mean, it's out of control. So the reason I'm bringing it up on the podcast is because I want to call LARA out on the carpet on this, and I need your help. What I want are photocopies of your rejection letters. If you've gotten a rejection letter from LARA for your patient caregiver application, and it's for one of these stupid reasons that I'm talking about, okay? If you forgot to send the money in, or you forgot to send in your ID, that's not the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You screwed up, and I'm sorry, and that's the way it is. I'm talking about little tiny things that they're being way too petty over, and they need to be called out on the carpet. So if I could present them a nice stack of letters saying, hey, look, here's a whole pile of people that you're just being an asshole to, basically, and you need to freaking knock it off. If we could put that in their face, maybe show it to some news channels or whatever, I'd be glad to. So if you've got a letter, somebody, photocopy that sucker, bring it in. That's what I'm looking for, is the rejection letter from LARA. You just drop it off at the club, we'll pile them up, and if I get a decent stack, we'll start squawking, all right? Because it's been happening for quite some time. You all know it has, and it just seems to be getting worse lately. So if it's a real issue, let's deal with it. If it's not, and you guys don't have any letters out there, and I'm the only one who seems to be getting picked on, then so be it. But
if you get rejected, you have to reapply, sending more money too, don't you?
Yeah, well, obviously it costs another $6 alone at the post office just to send the doggone thing certified mail.
So it's like,
and yes, you have to send in another $5 or $10, whatever it is, depending on what it is they're asking for. Most of us don't have copy machines laying around at home, so you go run to Kinko's and do whatever it is you need to do. I've had quite a few times having to go back to the doctor because, you know, they couldn't do this or that, or the doctor, you know, whatever, another petty stuff that really doesn't need to be done, but Lara says it does, so here we go. And yeah, I mean, you can imagine, try to get a doctor back on the phone for one, and try to get a doctor to re-sign an application form without booking an appointment.
So I had a friend who was a pharmacist. He used to be right up in the corner here from one of the studios, and my dad always kidded with him that basically, if he could read doctors' writings, he could probably decipher hieroglyphics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've never seen a legible signature from a doctor.
And again, for the folks that, you know, maybe watching this that haven't seen a medical marijuana application from the state of Michigan, literally, it's like a bunch of lists of symptoms where you check a box and then you sign your name at the bottom and date it. This is not a complex form. And so to reject it, you know, based on something that the doctor did or didn't do or whatever, or because, you know, you didn't put 2000 in what year it is, or, I mean, come on. When somebody puts down that they were born, you know, 4/25 of 54. Well, it obviously wasn't 2054, was it? You know, I mean, and they got a copy of the doggone driver's license. All right, and moving on here, I want to share something positive with you guys this week. Definitely, this is cool stuff. And sometimes you just don't realize how legitimate marijuana is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you listen to us hippies all day long, and you know, we got a lot of good information, but we all know that you really don't believe us, okay? So here's real information that you can believe, okay? 5 new studies that were released this summer in regards to medical applications for cannabis, all right? And you can check this out. This information is published on Medscape, and basically, you know, it's what doctors use to keep themselves up to date, all right? Continued education, that kind of a thing, right? You can go to and I got to expand this because it's so doggone sorry, but this is the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. Go to their website, PubMed, and there's these new studies. Or you can just go to leafly.com and it pulls them all up for you. I'm going to tell you what the topics of the studies are, and then you can check them out, all right? But when, you know, it just makes me sick when I hear these legislators and politicians talk about, we need more research. Dude, there's a ton of research out there. Open up your freaking eyes. Here's number 1. CBD treats brain changes caused by regular cannabis use. That's one study. Another study is transdermal CBD for the treatment of non-opioid addictions. Think about that. Think about what I just said there. Transdermal, okay, y'all know what that means. CBD for the treatment of non-opioid addictions. That's some advanced stuff right there. All right. Next thing, plant-derived cannabinoids improve the efficacy of cancer treatment. That's huge. Next thing is CBD's fast-acting, long-lasting antidepressant effects in rodents. So there's studies going on all the time. And the last one here is cannabis-based pharmaceutical improves the symptoms of multiple sclerosis. That's another study. So, you know, these studies are occurring all the time. They're often performed by doctors and universities, you know, oftentimes funded by research groups and sometimes by pharmaceutical companies. But research is happening all the time. And when our leaders say things like, well, we need to have more research on this, no, they need to get more educated is what needs to happen. And we should call them out on that and let them know that the research is there and that they need to do their own homework before they start saying that it isn't. So there's some new studies. Read it and weep, suckers. And that's the news for the week, all right? I want to share that information with you. I hope you enjoyed. Get down to the Genesee County Compassion Club. Please join us this Saturday on Adopt a Highway. Hopefully it'll be nice weather. And we've already cleaned it once this year, so it really shouldn't be too bad. But it's our chance to do a good turn for the community, so please come on out. And don't get discouraged. You know what I mean? When you hear these Court of Appeals things and you read these headlines, dig in a little bit, because a lot of times they're just trying to sell a newspaper. You know, they're just trying to get you to read their post or like their page, whatever it is. Cut to the chase, get to the bones. You know what I'm saying? Don't get the wool pulled over your eyes, all right? And you can definitely keep that going on by watching and tuning into this show and all the other podcasts that they have here at All Points TV, all right? So thanks for joining me this week. I'm your host, Jeremy. This is the Genesee County Compassion Club Show. Thank you, John, for being here with me, man. I appreciate it. Guys, get out there and enjoy your summer before it's gone, all right? We'll see you.